Hello, all YouTubers out there watching my videos. First of all, thank you for watching my videos. I do appreciate it. Thumbs up, subscribe, all that. Either way, my name's Don, otherwise known as DHDS Racer. This is another Hobby King product I picked up from Hobby King. It's a little seaplane called the Coota. This is fun playing because it's a pusher. You don't have to worry about hard landings where you're going to bust off the prop and the motor mount and all that. This thing is really fun. I had pretty high expectations when I ordered it, and it's pretty much met all of them. The plane is, like I said, a pusher and incredibly powerful, surprisingly powerful. This thing can almost go vertical, considering it really shouldn't be able to, but it can. And you know, more power, why not? There's no harm in it. So when you're setting this plane up, build is pretty easy. It's epoxy on wings, so the wings are permanently attached, but the plane is fairly small, so transporting shouldn't be a big issue. But you basically put these little supports, little like plastic or fiberglass supports in the wings. They don't go all the way out, so there's a little bit of flex, but it's such a light, small plane, it doesn't matter. And prop them up on some blocks and epoxy the wings on. Be careful. The Art Tech supplied, you know, whatever epoxy that comes with the kit, that stuff cures so freaking fast. It surprised the hell out of me. I mixed it up and I was like mixing and mixing and mixing for like 2 or 3 minutes, and then I started noticing it getting thick. So I tossed that batch and moved a little quicker on the next one. So like literally you got 3 to 5 minutes at best when that stuff cooks off, and the hotter and higher humidity you're in, it's going to cook off even faster than that. So make sure to move that real quick when you're mixing it up. But so epoxy the wings on. The rest of this assembly is super easy. I mean, there was almost nothing else to do. You know, attach a couple of the clevises, and I did the typical thing to give myself a little bit more leverage, a little more movement from the control horns. You know, move them to the furthest out hole on the servo and the furthest in on the control horn itself. But aside from that, setup was just a blast. I mean, it was ready to fly in probably half an hour, including epoxy drying time. Now, the one thing as far as the build goes that I want to note, the center of gravity, you can get the center of gravity in the instructions for the plane, because it did not ship with any, on Hobby King's website in the Files tab under the plane. You can download it. It's an Art Tech plane, so it has an Art Tech manual. But the little PDF will help out, especially with finding CG. Now, CG on this was a little odd because I'm not sure if it has different electronics in it or what, but I've heard of people using up to 1500 milliamp batteries. Woo! Not true on this one. I could not come anywhere near center of gravity with even a 1300. So, you know, in order to keep it light, because the plane's not super light in its own, you know, it's pretty average weight, but it's not so light that you can completely avoid tip stalling and certain tendencies. In order to keep it light and not have to use any lead, I threw a 1000 milliamp battery in there. So a 1000 milliamp 3-cell at a anything I think 20C or higher will be fine with this plane. But it was surprising because I actually took a little bit of foam out and moved it all the way back just to get center of gravity. Normally you see planes that are you know, heavy in the tail and you're constantly adding weight into the nose. This was the exact opposite. This has a ton of room in the nose to put a gigantic battery, but you'd be so far ahead of the CG that you'd just be flying really sloppy. So in order to meet the CG that the instructions said, I actually had to put a smaller recommended battery in and move it as far back as I could in the battery bay. So which was not a problem for me. I didn't care. I mean, I still got probably 8 to 12 minute flights depending on how much I was pushing it, and that's more than enough. Plus, the lighter weight battery makes for a better flying plane because it's lighter. It can maneuver faster. It's less heavy, so it's less tendencies to tip stall, which this does tend to do. It kind of wallows at low speed. I mean, you can slow it down. You see some of these landings I'm doing. I come in pretty slow, but you'd be surprised. This thing does fall at a fairly steep angle. It doesn't have a great glide path, but it's not really supposed to be a glider type plane. It's a fairly fat fuselage, you know, fairly reinforced, heavy. Yeah, that's a phone call. I'll get it later. But so let me get my train of thought here. Yeah, fat fuselage, fat. Short, stubby wings. It's not supposed to be a glider. It comes in at a steep angle. You really need to land this thing power on, or else it'll come down like this. something like that.
That
Real
doesn't
steep.
sound good.
So light power on landing is not a problem for this thing. Just don't slow it down before you're on your final approach going straight. The second you slow down and you're in a turn, it'll tip stall. Just like any usual warbird you fly, common tendency to tip stall, you know, not like a glider or something with a ton of dihedral. So so watch yourself on that, you know, come in for approach, power on, and use that lighter weight battery. That will help a lot. And voicemail. But this thing was really fun. Do the typical, you know, typical thing where you get a little more throws in your control. Oh, another thing to note. If you're going to be doing stuff like you see here, where I'm basically trying to beat the hell out of the plane, keep in mind you're probably going to crack the plastic on the bottom of the plane. It's got like a plastic skid that's kind of suction molded to the foam itself. But you'll probably crack it if you land it on rocks and stuff like that. I didn't really care much. I just put a little bit of packaging tape over it. And another thing to note, this thing has so much power that if you're like in tall grass or stuck on rocks or something like that, where there's a ton of drag on the airframe and you push it at full throttle, it actually has enough power to lightly crack the foam at the bottom of the motor mount, right where it attaches to the fuselage. So at least probably a little bit of packaging tape. I would actually take some carbon rods, like 2 carbon rods, and kind of insert them into the fuselage and along the length of your motor mount that goes up. And run those up just as a little extra support, because this thing is uber powerful, surprisingly powerful. But you know, really fun plane. I mean, you can see I'm doing little touch and goes here. It runs on the water a little bit low, even though I was set up light, so you'll see it kind of skip and hop. I didn't have any really bad time with the water because of that. Like it did pretty well, but it runs lower than like a pontoon plane. So you know, power on fairly heavily and lift up right when you feel those wings taking the majority of the load. Aside from that, you might want to focus, if you're primarily using this on water, focus a little bit and try to use like maybe a little bit of silicone, caulking, stuff like that around any areas you think there could be water coming in. Like there could be a little bit of water running down the control lines. Anywhere you can basically see water coming in, because I did actually have some water in the battery bay and the electronics bay. So I'm going to finish up here. And you guys enjoy your day. Please thumbs up. I'm not going to do a build one for this unless you guys request it. If you want a whole video specifically for the build of this plane, which was very simple, ask. Just put them in the comments, thumbs up, do all that basic stuff, and help me out. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.